Breaking news, the Horner case is now closed. Yes. After the whole scandal that erupted at the beginning of the year, because of this gentleman, you have on the left Jos Verstappen, and the scandal that affected Red Bull and that up to now we are still witnessing. The consequences it had on a sporting level for this team, because in the end the internal atmosphere affected to the sports areas. In the end, everything has been settled. In this way, with a statement from Red Bull GmbH stating that there is no case. To the appeal, the last resort that the employee who had initially reported Christian Horner had. We remember that at the beginning, supposedly according to the media, it had done it for harassment. Later, the tone of the words was toned down a bit, saying inappropriate behavior, controlling behavior, coercive. Finally, this is what it came down to. The consequences for Red Bull, I think, are immeasurable. If we consider the unrest that has arisen within the team, the implosion that occurred, losing key people, Cesanante erano acceptando. But I think precisely now is a good moment to call things by their name and say who was to blame all of this. Because Christian Horner, if now, we can definitely say, if we said it before, we say it now too, he is a victim. They've been a victim of all this. This is called plainly and simply extortion. That's what the Klamberstebe did. Precisely because of that loss of power that Helmut Marko had already last season, those doubts about Helmut's continuity, about his future, in Jos Verstappen, you know how he acts, you know what he's like, and this scandal, those 200 emails, which were released specifically at the Bahrain GP to target Christian Horner with private personal content of dubious origin, really, although we all suspect that this comes from a very specific source, from a writer of a certain media outlet that we've already discussed here, End Racers. The truth is, with all this going on, it's normal that what happened finally occurred in this season that's changing, leaving in suspense for Red Bull, because in the end, Adrian Newey's departure left them dissatisfied. The internal situation, the atmosphere, the team experience when we saw Newey in Paisano's preseason was amazing as well as Christian Horner in an act of solidarity towards him. And later, ultimately, Jonathan Wheatley's departure as well. I think it's no coincidence. I think it shows that Red Bull was divided into two. Jonathan Wheatley said it in an interview. I want a team where we all go in the same direction. That was not happening at Red Bull with the Helmut Marko, who did whatever he wanted from the start, who had a very different idea of what the team should be. And the Klamber tapping, who acted in a sycophantic manner with Helmut, meeting with him to plan their next schemes, just like here on this channel. Did we show everything to try to damage Christian Horner's image, who has now been completely exonerated? Nobody doubts Christian Horner's integrity anymore. No one doubts now in August, but what was said about him in February, in March, in April, we all remember it. And that is a reputational damage. We have to understand it's going to be irreparable, very difficult to recover, because there will always be that stain, that suspicion that an employee accused him, that an employee brought all this up, probably manipulated by the whole Verstappen clan, who knew exactly what they were doing, knew exactly what they wanted to get. With all this, well, here we have the statement. Officer of Red Bull CMB. We have information. We'll summarize it a bit. His press release following the formal notice of the appeal blows up in all the media. We see it here on ESPN, for example. But let's summarize the main points. Earlier this year, a complaint lodged against Christian Horner was investigated. That complaint was handled through the grievance procedure of the company by appointing an independent lawyer, which, as many of you know, this is the main complaint he had. The employee side. Cherponis Thomas said, Vila, who changed lawyers multiple times, probably unhappy with how things were going, knowing she was losing credibility.